Hello Hairbrain community, my name is Stephen Moody and I'm with the Weller organization, and we're here at the New York Weller studio in Soho, and this is my gorgeous model Grace, and I'm going to get on with cutting her hair. And guess what? I'm going to cut her hair curly. So I'm going to get right into this, and what I'm not going to do is cut her hair with a comb. I'm going to cut Grace's hair completely freehand, and I'm going to do that by simply cutting right into these curls and constantly picking her hair out. So I know that at the moment curly hair is trending really heavily. It's a really big deal at the moment, and I adore cutting curly hair. So let me tell you a little bit about what my objective is here. Is number one, with Grace, I don't really want to make Grace's hair a huge amount shorter. What I want to do is make her hair a little bit more heart-shaped. So what does heart-shaped mean? Basically what I'm going to do is make her hair narrower and skinnier. I'm much taller and bigger on front, and I'm going to give her a little bit of a fringe through here too, to where she can wear her hair back, or she can wear her hair towards her face.
And this is Courtney from behind the camera, you guys, with Hairbrain. Stephen, why are you choosing to do freehand on her curls today?
That's a great question, Courtney. So the question was, why cut curly hair freehand? I really like to do this because I think it's a little bit like cutting to the curl. In other words, you're not really disturbing the curl too much when you do this. And what you can really focus on, Courtney, and a lot of the people watching, they already know this because they work with curly hair. I think what you can really do is kind of work with an expanded form. So typically when we're working with color, or we're styling hair, or we're cutting hair that's straight, we're really thinking of it being in one dimension. So much more in this direction. What I really want to do with Grace's hair is really build the shape this way. So we're kind of working in this dimension rather than working in length. So I think that's kind of the main reason behind me doing that. Her hair's a little bit sort of tired, a bit fatigued, so it does need a haircut. And I'm really looking to sort of graduate this perimeter shape here, this profile. And what that does, by setting that in there, what that's going to do is make this hair here much larger and bigger. And the fact that there's this preponderance of colour in this area through here is no accident. It's purely intentional. And this is more subdued and kind of darker and sinks in. So this is going to shrink and go away from the eye. So this is going to recede, if you will. And this is the hair that's going to really pop through here. So the name of this program, Courtney, is called Triple Craft. And we've taken Weller Triple Craft to South Africa. We've taken it to Turkey, to Russia, to Brazil. We've taken it all over the world, including Canada and the USA. And the whole idea with Triple Craft is what we're really looking to do is really work with hairdressers and encourage people to really lock together colour, cut, finish, retailing styling products, care products, etc. So that customers really kind of get more anchored to salons. Because I think you guys will agree, you know, there's been a departure from salons of people getting their hair done. So a haircut that was 6 weeks has turned into a 6-month haircut. A colour that was every 4 weeks because of balayage in 2008, that 4-week colour's kind of moved over to a 3-month, 4-month colour. So a lot of what we're looking to do with Triple Craft is really anchor women, and men for that matter, back to coming into the salon on a regular basis, and really helping hairdressers elevate their average ticket. Because at the end of the day, that average ticket is, as we all know, it's super important. So it's locking together lots and lots of services on a girl's head to really make it look cool and amazing and trendy and really suit that person. But also at the same time, it's giving them a haircut, a style, a colour that they can't do themselves. They can't do in the kitchen. You know, they really need a professional to be able to lock that colour into the skin tone, lock that haircut into their face shape, their personality, and the lifestyle. So that's what that's all about, really.
And we've got some questions coming in. We have someone asking, what about when the client with that texture hair doesn't want volume? How would you go about cutting it?
That's a really good question. Who asked that question?
Dario.
Hey Dario, how you doing? Thanks for that question. I think if I was cutting a person who was on the fence about wearing their hair big and curly, as opposed to straight, I might not do this. So I might want to do something that maybe they can blow dry straight and they can make smaller. Grace is in a band. She's a bit of a rock star. So Grace really needs loud hair. She does not need librarian hair. She doesn't work in an office. So she needs big arsed hair that's loud and loud colour and a loud texture. So I'm 100% sure, let's check with Grace, that she's going to want to wear her hair curly. Yep. So I think if a person was undecided, if they couldn't make their mind up, if they were unclear, I might not necessarily do this. I might do something where they could switch it out and they could really work on something that would flip-flop from curly to straight.
And with a client like Grace who loves the volume and all the texture, how often would you suggest she come to the salon?
I think this probably needs to be cut every 6 to 8 weeks, really. I don't really think that it's any different to straight hair. You know, I really think keeping the shape in place is something that you need to do. So I think a trim on her hair every 4 to 6 weeks is a good place to be. And again, probably the same with the colour. So I think probably getting her in and getting a colour done and getting a haircut done all at the same time is probably, you know, a good move for Grace. And let's just take Grace out of the picture for a second. I think that's a good move for us because, you know, I really like a lot of what's gone on over the last couple of years, but, you know, some of the things that's really going on with hair at the moment, it's almost like people don't need us anymore because hair's gotten so long for such a long time that, you know, elbow length hair and centre partings and balayage, it's kind of driven people away. And I know everybody who's watching on Hairbrain, the reason why you're watching is number one, because you're interested in your craft. And then number two, I know you're also interested in putting money in your pocket. Because I don't think there's anybody watching this broadcast that works for a charity. We've all got mortgages to pay, or rent to pay, or shoes to buy. If we're hairdressers, lots of shoes. And to do that, yeah, we need to have clients on a regular basis that are visiting our salons and spending money. Yeah. And
Dennis just joined us, and he said, I just joined in, but my question is, how far do you pick it out before you cut in the shape?
Yep, it's a good question, Dennis. Grace's curl is kind of a little bit of a softer, lazy curl. It's not your classic sort of really tight to the head afro. So what we did with the hair, if I can just share with you, we kind of layered 3 products, and we didn't stay with one brand. We put Aimee Perfect Me from roots to ends through Grace's hair. So that's like the foundation. Imagine doing your makeup and this kind of sits as a foundation. And I think we probably used about 1/3 of that bottle. We were not sparing with that particular product. Then we used one of my old favorites, which is Sebastian Whipped Cream. And we used that at the root through to just past mid-length. And again, we really mushed that into the hair, almost like you're tinting the hair, but with whipped cream. And then from the mid-lengths through to the ends, I just love this product. This is called Sebastian Dark Oil. And we really kind of pull that through the ends, and it just gives that nice curl. What we then did was use the diffuser. And we loosely diffused her hair, and didn't do too much pulling and tugging with her hair. So I think to answer the question, the original question is, we didn't pick it out. So unlike a classic sort of fro look, which I know a lot of you've seen me do before, I haven't picked it right out. And the main reason is the curls are not super tight. They're quite soft. So I do want to maintain and keep some of this nice sort of curl through the hair. And there's, just so everybody watching on Hairbrained knows what's going on, I'm actually looking over Courtney's shoulder, and I've got a mirror over here, and I'm really interested in the silhouette of this haircut. So what you're seeing on the screen there, I'm actually seeing in the mirror over here. And a little tip and trick for you people that are watching at home is when you're working with these shapes, you're dead in the water unless you have a mirror. It's super important to have a mirror so you can really kind of see and comprehend that silhouette. The worst thing I can do with this haircut is really get too close to the mirror and get my nose in the hair and really be uptight with the hair. I need to create distance between Grace and myself, and yeah, I do that with a mirror. So that's one side almost in through there. I wanted to kind of do one side so you could see how this side, for example, Courtney, is quite square and heavy and bobby, and this side has kind of come in, it's a little bit more heart-shaped. So what I'm going to do now, Courtney, is I'm going to come and work on this side and do the same thing on this side.
And Robert's joining in. He says, I've seen most hair cutters start on the bottom of the nape and work their way up the head with textured hair. Do you approach most of your textured cuts that way?
Yeah. What's that gentleman's name again?
Robert.
Hey, Robert. Thanks for that question. It's a great question. And the answer to your question is yes. In general, that's what I do. And the reason is, if I work from the bottom up, and I cut from shorter to longer, the technique that I'm using is graduation. And what graduation tends to do, it grows hair. It makes the hair bigger and fuller. And really, with Grace's hair, that's kind of my objective, is I want to grow her hair and make it now nice and big and loud. So I wouldn't want to start here. I really want to make her hair big and full, and then if anything I'm going to come and layer her hair a little bit later, which kind of takes away volume. But I don't want to take the volume away until I've created it. Yeah. I'm really liking this shape through here. Courtney, maybe you could look in the mirror with your camera. No, do you want to take a look there so everybody can see what I'm looking at? So here's what I'm kind of looking at with...
I want people to see me.
With the silhouette there, you can see. So I'm really kind of enjoying this sort of shape through here. And if you look closely, it's a little bit longer in the middle. Through there, not by much. But I'm really enjoying that shape through there. And what Courtney's looking at now is really what I'm checking and what I'm seeing all the time as I'm cutting the hair. And when I do this, I'm not cutting the hair, by the way, I'm picking the hair. So as I go through there, I'm getting those curls to just pick out a little bit. So again, if you're just joining us, my name is Stephen Moody, and this is Courtney, who's behind the camera. And if you're just joining us, thank you so much for spending your Monday evening with us, or Monday afternoon if you're on the West Coast. My name is Stephen Moody, and I'm the Education Director for Wella in North America. And we're here in the gorgeous Wella studio in Soho, New York. And this is the beautiful Grace, who is a rock star, literally in every sense of the word. So yeah, we're doing a rock star cut and colour on Grace. And if you weren't here at the beginning when we started, the emphasis here is to really kind of narrow the bottom of Grace's haircut down. Keep the top nice and big and full. So the technique that I'm using at the moment is graduation. I'm cutting shorter out to longer through here. In a minute, I'm going to put a little bit of a fringe through here. And I'm also going to scoop some of this off of her cheekbones, and you mustn't miss that. That's a monster part of this haircut, is this little trick that I'm going to do around her face. So please don't go make a cup of tea and miss that. It's super important that you catch that. And I'm kind of keeping that for later.
And for those just joining, Stephen, why are you deciding to do this haircut freehand?
Yeah, we had a great question earlier on that one. Why am I cutting her hair freehand? I think the reason is I don't want to spoil her curls. I don't want to switch out the texture of her hair. So we already went ahead and we already blow dried her hair with a diffuser, which obviously dries the hair nice and curly. And in cutting it freehand, what I want to see with my silhouette is a very ragged, soft sort of finish to the hair. What I don't want to see is a really perfect, clean effect. So a very lived-in sort of finish. I think that's the main reason that I want to, that I'm choosing to cut it freehand.
And Dennis is asking if you would use a clipper to refine it.
Good question, Dennis. Probably not. I probably wouldn't use a clipper to refine it, and the reason is a clipper is a little bit like a computer. I think it would make this hair quite perfect in the silhouette, and I find when you cut it freehand it kind of is a little bit irregular, it's not perfect, and that's really what I'm after. I think a clipper would make it too refined, too perfect. Yeah. Maybe on a different texture, Dennis. But good question. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Oh, it's Dennis. That Dennis. Hey, Dennis. How you doing? Stephen, why cutting it in dry, high versus wet? Yeah, I think we just answered that one. Yeah. Cool. So
would you cut her curls wet? Would you cut textured hair wet?
Sometimes, yeah. If I want something that's a little bit cleaner and a little bit more refined, I often cut curly hair wet and then dry it, and then after it's dry, I come back and refine it and polish it dry. So yeah, I sometimes cut curly hair wet as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Bobby's
what I think is, sorry, go ahead, Courtney.
Sorry, Bobby's asking, why do you think graduation works so well on this texture?
The question is, why does graduation work so well on curly hair? Well, I think curly hair looks really nice big, particularly on Grace, because obviously she wants something that's quite loud. And of all the techniques that we have in our toolbox as haircutters, obviously we've got line, which is pretty much a bob. We've got graduation, and we've got layers. And graduation is the one technique that grows hair. It makes hair bigger. It makes hair fuller. It's the Arnold Schwarzenegger technique. It just makes it that little bit bigger and fuller. So it's a natural fit, if you will, for curly hair. But then again, if Grace worked in a bank, for example, and she wanted smaller hair, I probably would layer her hair much more, because layering would kind of remove the meat and potatoes from her hair. You know, it'd remove the volume. So it depends on what you want to do, really. Yay! So I think you can see there that if you kind of step back a little bit, Courtney, maybe you can get a wider shot of that. So there you can see I'm kind of working into a little bit of a longer middle here, both in lengthwise and shape-wise as well. So you've got this kind of almost like a wedge sort of shape going on here, and then bigger and fuller into the middle. So if you were watching earlier on, you heard me mention about the front. What I'm going to do now I've got that shape in there, is I'm going to work through her temples and really kind of carve out her temples through there.
Andy's asking, are you concerned about the curl naturally going back to firm and therefore making it hard to recreate the finished shape?
Am I concerned about when she shampoos her hair and a curl shrinks back to its form, will it change? Not really, because I think what's going to happen with Grace's hair is when she shampoos her hair and just combs her hair through and lets it go and it shrinks back on itself, I think what you'll see is this shape, it'll just be smaller. It'll just literally compact on itself. And there's an expert on Grace's hair. She's sitting in my chair. What do you think, Grace?
I like the shape a lot.
Yay! Yay!
And Axel's asking, what brand of shears do you recommend?
What brand of scissors do I recommend? I'm a little bit biased there. I'm really sorry. I worked with a company called Mitsutani. So these scissors are scissors that I designed with Mitsutani, and the cut craft in mind. So they're made by the Japanese company Mitsutani, and they're my special edition scissors. And what I really like about these scissors is the thumb hole. I've kind of twisted the thumb hole in here, twisted it that way, shaved off quite a lot of metal there, added some here. And it really does help when you're cutting hair and not put your thumb right the way inside through there. So it's the kind of nice scissors for cutting hair. It's kind of an all-around pair of scissors. They're about $750. And they're just really, really cool scissors to use as general hair cutting scissors. My mindset with scissors and cutting hair is I'm really a fan of lots of different pairs of, lots of different combs. I really only have one or two pairs of scissors. I really like to cut hair with a comb rather than cut hair with scissors, and create lots of different textures. So if I can just quickly talk about what I did there, because it's monster subtle. What I've just done there is really opened out Grace's cheekbone. So what I did, I just cut from short to long, short to long, short to long, and I've not changed this length in here. So what that does, that kind of sends her haircut a little bit more north. And if I just divorce the fringe for a second through there, I just want to show you the two sides. If I can get straight onto the camera, if you can see how that's quite crowding on that side. Can you see that kind of crowds her eye socket a little bit there? Whereas in this side, what I've done, I've really scooped that out. And in a minute, I'm going to cut this hair here, but that's not going to fasten into that. Can you see the difference in the two, everybody? How that sort of just scoops that out through there.
And Bobby's asking, do you prefer to work on pre-colored hair, or do you like to have input on the color and placement?
Who is that? Bobby who?
Bobby Labar.
Yay! Hey, Bobby! How you doing, my friend? Yeah, good question. So in a minute, we're going to introduce my friend, who is a Weller studio signature artist. His name is David Nieves, and David is a genius at colouring hair. And David coloured Grace's hair. So we kind of had a conversation about the haircut and about the texture and about what I was going to do before I moved into this haircut. So in this instance, the chicken and the egg scenario here was the colour came first and the cut came second. But there are lots of instances where it's the other way around. So I've travelled quite a lot with David and done different events with David and worked in different parts of the world with him. And sometimes I get really, to be honest with you, when I'm doing shows and education, there's times when I kind of get a little bit stuck and I don't quite know what to do with someone's hair. And particularly if they're open-minded. And I'll often say to David, go ahead, colour this gal's hair, surprise me. And I really like that because he's very creative, but with a tint brush, whereas I'm obviously creative with a pair of scissors. And I just love working with David because he puts a different spin on things, and he might place colour somewhere where it's unexpected, and then I kind of do the haircut into the colour. So it's kind of really fun to work with partners sometimes. So having said that, do you want to come and say hi, David? Come and join us.
Hello everybody, how are you? Hope you're having fun and are entertained with our haircut over here. Actually, if I can just point at you something really quickly, I just want to show you what I did. So every time that I'm working with a model, the first thing that I ask is, what are your favorite colors? And based on that, I go in and start formulating. Grace's favorite colors were like cool tones, and she like actually multi-tonal hair rather than just one color hair. I came in and started my formulations, and these are all my formulas that I mixed in. And I like to use my Color Fresh Create palette to mix and create different hues using each one of the colors. So in the first one over here, we have Future Yellow, Nudist Pink, and Tomorrow Clear, all in same or equal parts. The second one, we have Future Yellow and Nudist Pink, and you can see the difference of the hue from one to the other. Future Yellow and Nudist Pink in a different mixing ratio, in similar equal parts. In here, I have Hyper Coral with Future Yellow in different mixing parts, added Clear, and then again, a different mixing ratio. All of this is taken in consideration what she likes, what's in season, what's coming up, and what I did, talking with Steven, always haircut and hair color go hand on hand. So he did tell me that he was going to open up her face on the right a little bit, and taking in consideration again, Grace's desire for a little more noticeable hair color than what she came in with, I started with a maybe more concentrated root. I'm gonna give you the formulas in a minute in a screen. And then I started like lightly and softly bringing it out to a softer end result. I wanted to create the colors of a summer, if I may. And then around the hairline and around her face, because of her skin tone, wouldn't allow me to use such vibrant tones. I went in a little softer. And again, you see closer to the root, where there's a softer tone of pink, very soft, and it just comes into a softer natural color. I am going to share with you guys right now, if you want to follow me one little second.
Steven, you have to keep some fringe for us.
Keep some.
So I can record it.
Okay.
So this is Grace's before picture. She did come to me pre-lightened, and that do make a big difference. That actually tells me whether or not I can use permanent hair color or semi-permanent hair color. In this case, I chose to use semi-permanent hair color to add a lot more shine. And in a few weeks, when this shampoo's out, in about 20 shampoos, we can come back and do something slightly different for her summer.
And did you apply her color on wet or dry hair?
I applied her color on dry hair. Actually, that's a very good question. Shampoo, towel, dried hair, and Grace has so much hair that I actually had the help of one of our brand educators. She stepped out of the room for a minute, but I love to send my love to London. She's in the room, she's in the studio, she's in another room right now. And these are the different formulas that I used. So for everything that's inside and the back that's a lot warmer, we have equal parts of future yellow and hypercoral at the root. We have 3 parts of future yellow to 1 part of hypercoral in the mid shaft. In the ends, we have future yellow by itself. And then in all of the perimeter of the hair, we did future yellow with nudist pink equal parts at the root, and future yellow with nudist pink and tomorrow clear, all 3 in equal parts for the perimeter, in order to create that soft gradation and not have that strong warm tone to it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Stephen, I'm coming back to you.
Yay.
We have a couple questions for Grace. We have people asking, Grace, do you ever straighten your hair?
Only once a year or so.
Thank you. So Stephen, catch us up. What did we miss?
You didn't miss a lot, actually. I cut a fringe. So what we've done here is cut a little bit of a triangular fringe, a little bit of a vamp type fringe. If you remember, I cut this back through here, so I went from shorter out there to longer, shorter to longer, shorter to longer. And then what I was doing with her fringe while David was talking was cutting a little bit of a, I think the only way I can think of it is a vamp fringe. So it's kind of longer into the middle, which really kind of, oh, this shit's amazing.
I love it.
Do that thing to me. So it's a little bit shorter in her eye socket and a little bit longer into the sides through here. So it's kind of that shape and that shape. So like a V, if you will, through here. The other thing you missed was I pretended that she fainted, and I opened the legs and put her head between. Let's do it again. Let's do it again now. Just, it's like when you blow dry with the head upside down. I pulled all that forward and I cut all the top. So literally what I'm doing now, I'm layering her hair, if you want to be technical, through there. So all that hair falls forward, and I'm cutting that top that way. And proportionally, I'm probably cutting a lot less hair here than I did in the back, for example.
And Bobby says, Stephen, as beautiful as the shape is, would you say opening the face and cheekbones is the most important part?
I think Bobby's question is really important, guys. I can't stress how important Bobby's on the money there. And that is that as hairdressers, I think we spend such a long time colouring the backs of people's heads and cutting the back of people's heads and styling the back of people's heads. But the reality of it is a woman really looks at this every morning. She doesn't look at that every morning. So Bobby's point is super important that, yeah, what we do with hair around the face is super important because that's what they see. So that's, Bobby's taken some of my classes. Bobby knows what I'm all about. And I'm all about cheekbones. And I'm all about, if I can, what I want to do is kind of elevate this part of a woman's face shape. Because what that's going to do, it kind of pops the cheekbones. You know, when you can take hair out of here to one degree or other.
And Robert's asking, are you loosening up the top front when you layer it?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm loosening up the top when I layer it. Yeah, I'm kind of bringing this down just a little bit. And I think Grace's hair texture is one of the few textures that when I layer it, it gets bigger. Most hair types, when you layer the hair, it kind of collapses and hugs back down again, and it gets skinnier. It's Jenny Craig. But hair type, if I take some of the weight out of there, it kind of makes it stand up even more. And again, for people that are just joining us, Grace is not a librarian. Grace doesn't work in an office. Grace is in a band. Grace plays guitar and does a lot of this. Do that, look, yeah. So that's important. Do that again, Grace. Yay! Yeah, that looked great on camera. Can you see yourself? That's great. So again, a lot of you have taken classes with me that are watching. You've either taken classes with me at Sassoon, or over the last 6 years, you've taken classes with me at Weller. And you know that in the Stephen Moody playbook, suitability is not just a nose, or a face shape, or eyes, or whatever. To me, suitability is all about this. And I really wanted to cut Grace's hair for you because last time I did Hair Brained Live was from Toronto, and I know a lot of you were watching, but I did an Asian girl, and her hair was really flat and smooth, and we had some amazing Weller colour on that model's hair, and it was done by Faye Linksman in the Weller studio in Toronto. And it was this beautiful blue, steel, grey sort of colour, but very small and flat and compacted to the head. So I really wanted to show you something a little bit different. And to come back to suitability, you know, for me it's super important that it fits them. Not just their hair type, or not just their face shape. It's important for me that the colour, the cut, the finish, the dry, everything fits who they are. And Grace is a really good example. And again, one more time, if you're just joining us, Grace is in a band. And the objective with her hair was really to do big, loud, rock star hair, as opposed to small and compacted. And I think we're well on the way there. We're almost done, really. So.
I know after this, you've mentioned it a couple times, Stephen. We had someone asking if you were coming to Brazil anytime soon. So I know towards the end of the class, we'll talk about kind of your class schedule.
Yeah, we've actually got it on the screen. I'm going to Brazil in August 2nd through 9th. I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I think it's my 4th or 5th time down there with Weller Brazil. There's an amazing team of people down there. And one of the things I really like, Courtney, about working in Brazil is there's all kinds of different ethnicities of hair. So you've got kind of German heritage with blonde, fine, straight hair. And then, all the way across the board to people with Grace's hair. And the last couple of trips I've done down there, I'm really sort of proud of where the hair industry's gone in Brazil. Because for many years in Brazil, unless you had blue eyes and blonde hair, you weren't beautiful. And I think what we've really managed to do with the hairdressing community down there in Weller is really instilling hairdressers, hey, let's work with textured hair, let's work with curly hair. You can be beautiful and not have blue eyes. You can be beautiful and not have straight blonde hair, so yeah, I love working down there. If Renato Fuz is watching, hey, Renato, how you doing, buddy?
And David's asking, if someone wanted to learn more about styling textured hair, what would you recommend?
In the Weller Studios, we've got both in Toronto and in New York and in Calabasas, we have styling classes that really focus on finishing hair. And part and parcel of that is working with naturally curly hair. And we wanted to do that because a lot of people, Courtney, are a little bit afraid of curly hair. And obviously, that flat iron straight sort of hair has been in vogue for such a long time. I know there's lots of people out there that have never really worked with curly hair. So, we really go through prepping the hair. We go through what kind of products do we want to use in the hair. In this case, I used a combination of Amy and Sebastian products. And probably most importantly of all, what we go through is the drying process and the styling process, where you can dry and style the hair and still get that beautiful, lovely sort of curl, which is an art. It really is an art form.
And Sophia says, you are so dope, and she met you at ISSE, and she told you that then, and she can't wait to take your class. And will you be coming to Dallas?
I am. I'm coming back to Dallas. I was just in Dallas a few weeks ago, but I'm coming back to Dallas, and it's not yet on that agenda. But there is something for 2019 where I'm coming back to Dallas. I love Dallas. I really like it. We just did a class in Dallas at an amazing salon called Von Anthony. And there's a brand new program that we've got called Your Craft. And Your Craft is really all about your craft. It's not about my craft. And it's about you guys cutting hair and colouring hair. And what we did a class with 6 hairdressers only. And in 2 days, 6 hairdressers did 23 consultations, 23 haircuts, 23 blow dries, 23 photographs, there was photography, over 2 days. So the act really rocked out doing the hands-on thing, which I know Josh DeMarco's watching. Hey Josh, how you doing, buddy? But I know Josh and a whole bunch of us are really, really passionate at the moment about doing hands-on. And I think this is great that you guys are watching. I think it's great that you're interested in this. But if you can, get yourself to a quality hands-on class where you're working with a master, whether it's colouring hair or cutting hair or styling hair, because believe me, there just is no substitution for doing hands-on, none whatsoever. You just can't beat it. It's the one and only way to learn. It really is.
Jocelyn says hi, and she saw you last weekend in Carmel.
Oh, hey, Jocelyn.
And we have a color question coming in from Liam. He says, where do you think color trends are going to be in the next few years? I feel balayage and silvers are overdone.
So
Will I get fired if I say that? Balayage is gone. Hey!
we're still going closer to natural hair colors. I want to say we're still going to go with what fits our clients. I feel more and more every day. Every color that we do is based on skin tone, eye color, and natural hair color to enhance features rather than take away or create something completely different than what your client wants. Personality, hair, texture, porosity, etc. takes a lot in consideration, but most of all, it's making your client happy and feel like herself. And this comes from having a good consultation and being able to make a rock star if she feels like it, or a librarian if she feels like it at the moment. I know for a fact that we're going to start working more with that type of end result. Balayage may be coming out, but there's always something coming in. Guys, do come to the studio. I do want to say something really quickly, if I may. I'm working on a program to bring one of our Master Color Expert graduates into the studio that is going to be dedicated to curly ethnic hair, creative coloring, cutting, and styling. So stay tuned for that. It's going to come in June, early June. And we also, I've seen a lot of people with Spanish names. I'm Nieves, I'm from Puerto Rico, and my first name is, my first language is Spanish.
En español.
En español. Vamos a tener las clases en español de introducción de color para el Master Color Expert en junio. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have the classes in Spanish, the introduction to the prerequisites for Master Color Expert started in June. So guys, come on. Come in, come home. This is your home at the studio. We want everybody here.
And where, for people who are looking for classes, whether it's color cut and or style, where can they find all that information?
Can I point it right here? WellaEducation.com, or you can do education.wella.com, and that's going to put you into the calendar for the studio and the classes that we are offering. Not everything is loaded, so if you're looking for a specific class that's not uploaded in the calendar, you can always come to or give us a call at 800-422-2336. That's where we have all of the information at the end of the day. So guys, this is home.
You
Come
guys
home.
have an invite to come to Fiji.
We have an invite to come to Fiji?
Yes,
Wow.
I would love to have you in
Excellent.
Fiji.
I'll see you in Fiji. Let's make this work.
David and I'll be on a plane first thing in the morning. We'll be right there. Yeah. So I hope you guys watching on this amazing, amazing website like this. I want to give a big shout out to a friend of mine who started with me at the Sassoon Academy 100 years ago, and in my book is one of the best educators there is in our craft. And he started with me as, I think he was an 18-year-old at Sassoon, and went on to be an amazing, amazing educator. And his name is Gerard Scapacci. And as you all well know, he's the founder and president of Hairbrained. And I want to give him a big shout out because he's a buddy of mine.
Yeah, shout out to Gerard, co-founder along with Randy Taylor, who I know that you see a lot as well.
So there's our shape to there. If we can capture that shape through there.
And Dennis is asking, great cut, but do you consult her after how to style it at home?
Yeah, hi Dennis. I don't think I need to give her any lessons at all. She's the world champion at styling curly hair. She can probably style her hair better than I can. And I only know this because I've done her hair before. And I don't think she's any stranger to looking after her hair. If she was a girl who'd blow dried her hair straight and typically, you know, didn't really wear her hair curly, then definitely Dennis. Most definitely, I would want to sort of have a tutorial with her, both on what products to use and you know, what tools to use and how to use it for sure. I would want to do that if it was someone who was a stranger to curly hair, but I really don't think Grace is that girl at all.
And speaking of products, what are you currently spraying?
That's a little bit of IME thermal image, and it's super important that you kind of do that and you mix it up because it's a two-part deal, and it just makes the hair really shiny. I really like IME's line of products, and I'm not just saying that because I work for Weller, but there's a little bit of something there for everybody, and this is particularly nice for curly hair, either naturally curly hair or perm hair, or anywhere you want to have a little bit of a sheen to the hair and a tiny bit of hold. So, are you guys ready for the sort of final reveal? What we're going to do now is you stay there. That's sweet. Keep getting them straight. Because what we've got here is some amazing, amazing John Flubog shoes with a gorgeous dress. And there's our lovely Grace rocking her her look, which obviously she'll do with a guitar in her hand on most nights. To there. So do you want to have a little turn around, Grace? Yeah? Amazing colour from Weller Studio signature artist David Nieves. And maybe what we could do, David, is cut back to, let's see what, oh wow. Can we cut over there?
Can we get them both side by side?
Let's get side by side. Ta-da! And let's do a shameless plug for John Flubog at some point too, because these shoes are wicked. You all know I like shoes.
Perfect. And before we sign off, Stephen, where can we find you and everyone who's helped out at the studio online?
My name is Hair Moody. Last name is Moody, M-O-O-D-Y. First name Hair Moody. That's my Instagram name. And you saw earlier my dance card. Maybe we could finish with that on the screen so you can see where am I at for the remainder of the year. We're doing cut craft in Calabasas in June. We've got a very busy month in June. We're going to Cleveland and to Boston to deliver triple craft. We're doing look and learn as well as hands-on with Triple Craft, and then it's off to Brazil for Triple Craft. And then I'm back here in New York for a couple of different events for Cutcraft, back in Calabasas, and I'm going to the sweetest city in America. I'm going to Kevin Baker's Down Street Salon in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
He's watching right now.
Hey Kevin, looking forward to coming, my friend. Thanks for being online. Yeah, so that's everything from us. I think maybe the last thing that we should finish on that would be really cool is if Grace could do a tiny bit of air guitar with her new look. So let's finish with that. Come on.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Thank you,
Yeah, you're
everybody.
welcome. Thank you, Hairbrain.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being with us on your Monday night or Monday afternoon. And yeah, come and see us. We're all about the craft in Wella. And congratulations to Hairbrain. You're doing a great job. Love you all. Bye.